Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 9 of the Pulp, where we keep you informed about all things going on at ProCon. We're your hosts, Bob and Maddie, and today's episode is all about something that goes far beyond what we do every day, our purpose. We're sitting down with our CEO, Dan Curtin, and we're going to talk about the impact that we're making outside of our walls through charitable giving and community participation. From local efforts to global causes, ProCon is proud to support meaningful work, and we'll dive into how and why we choose the causes that we do. And because caring for people is just as important as giving back, we're also spotlighting a very real safety concern for this time of year, heat stress. We'll be joined later by our Corporate Safety Director and Paper Valley General Manager, Jayson Scott, to talk about how to stay safe as the temperature rises. Whether you're on the floor, outside, or just working hard in warmer environments, this is information that you don't want to miss. So real quick, before we get into our first discussion, I want to let everyone know that our keyword today is community.
Yep, and that's our final keyword.
That's right. We'll talk about that a little bit in the closing segment, how to get those submitted. But first, let's introduce Dan Curtin, our President and CEO.
Thanks for having me today. Appreciate the invite, and these are important topics.
Yeah, it's great to have you on. So, we'll dive right into it, Dan. Why don't we talk a little bit about the types of organizations that ProCon gives support to?
You know, over the years it's kind of evolved, but I've always tried to keep it focused to local charities that serve the communities that we work in. Some of the groups are just groups like the United Way or the YMCA, but then there are other smaller groups that are important to maybe an individual employee. Maybe they have a family member that was impacted, with a special need, something like that. So we do like to consider those things and help our employees and their families and the communities that we work in. So it's kind of evolved over the year, but we get thousands of requests a year, sure. I can tell you. And so we try to keep it focused to those that we feel are going to provide the most benefit for the area, and by keeping it to a smaller group, we can have a little more value for them. So.
Well, I know you talked about United Way, the Boys and Girls Club. I know we've supported local YMCA's in the past. Mm-hmm. So, why those causes?
Well, United Way, everybody knows United Way from going a long ways back. I think I started donating there back when I was at the mill, probably in the early 1980s. Sure. So it was a small amount, $1 a week, I think, but we were paid weekly. But it was a start. But they do so much in our communities. The YMCA, a lot of our members or a lot of our employees like to go there and participate and use the equipment. And they have a lot of other things that they do for the community services that they provide. So. Again, those are very value add. We also do U.S. Venture, which is a local charity group here. We started in that. One of our shareholders actually founded it and started it. So obviously having a shareholder in there gave us a little incentive to participate in that. But they are very much like United Way. They pick out, unique causes in the area. They actually have a committee that grades them on how they did, what did they do last year, and they look at the value that they're bringing, and then based on that they determine what funds they're going to get for the following year. So I like that because I know a lot of the people that are on that board, right. And I trust their judgment, so I feel that our money is well spent by putting it there. So.
Oh, I agree. I know we've been, as you said, working with the United Way now, go back, I think, seven years or so. Mm-hmm. We actually just received news that we had crept from, we were the number 42 donating company. We've now moved into the top 40. Actually, Maddie was at the reception when we first learned that. We're looking for ways to increase those contributions in years going forward. Mm-hmm. So I do want to just take this opportunity to let everybody know that even outside of those campaigns, an individual donation can be made at any time. You can see your HR coordinator or manager to arrange for that. And also, as we're bringing on new hires, they can have the opportunity to make donations as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great organization, and you know what? Any amount that a person can give is worthwhile because it does make a difference. So.
Absolutely, and really, one of the things that they recently talked to us about when they came in to thank us for those donations is that participation. Every little bit does count. Yes. I think a lot of times people think they need to make that minimum donation that's necessary to be entered in to win the car, which is great. But honest to goodness, 25 cents is better than no sense.
Start small if you need to. That
sure.
makes sense.
Well, I do want to point out that over those last 3 years, ProCon and our employees have actually raised $60,000 as a company, over $60,000 for the local United Way. Most recently, in our most recent campaign, bringing in over $24,000.
That's great.
Very proud of that. Yep. It's proud of for all the employees is something that's great, and we want to grow that participation, and give our employees good reasons to be grateful for what they have, and try to share some of what they have with people that are maybe more needy. So,
yeah. I know we've also made some donations on year by year, case by case bases for different vendors or employee requests as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when an employee comes to me, I am particularly enjoy that because it means something. It's personal. It could be a number of different reasons, but I consider all of them. And if we can do it and we're in a position, then we go ahead and do it. It might be small, but it's something, and we try to help out.
I want to take the opportunity, and I know you'll correct me and say they can reach out to you, Dan, but do use your HR coordinators and HR staff to make those requests. We will make sure that they make their way to the appropriate individuals, whether that be a division leader or right up to the top with Dan. So I don't want to see your email get blown up too much after the podcast.
I do have the final say on all of them, so I see them eventually, and I don't mind doing that at all.
Yeah,
so it's all
understood. But I know that so much of what we do, not just the donations that we make make an effort to ensure that they're tied to our values.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, how do the donations that we make tie into the vision and values that we share?
Well, I think it's accountability as stewards of our environment, where we work, where we live. I think our values are really common sense rules is maybe not the right word, but common sense guidelines as to how we should treat one another, how we should do what we're expected to do our part, do all those things. So I think charitable contributions just is another way of showing our responsibility and our commitment to our communities, our co-workers, our friends, our families that are in the area and that need things. And really, when you look at our values as a company, whether it's dealing with a customer or with employees or with vendors, treat them with respect, honesty, openness, and I think that volunteering, and that's another good point. It's not just money; it's volunteering too. So you can volunteer for a lot of these groups if you don't maybe want to give money, or maybe you want to do both. But there's a lot of ways that you can help in the community. So
absolutely, and I want to take an opportunity to just share as far as employee suggestions and the way that things turn out. I don't want to mention any names or go against privacy. But just in the past, we have been approached to sponsor various 5Ks and races that benefit different causes. And one of the local ones in Appleton was for cancer research.
Mm-hmm.
And we sponsored a 5K 1 year at the suggestion of a coworker because one of our employees had been diagnosed. And then the following year, when we sponsored again, that same individual is running with us as a survivor.
Sure.
And it's really nice to see the impact that those things make in real time.
Yeah, I've been to an event where it kind of honored all these cancer survivors, and it was really amazing to see the number of people who are affected by cancer. And these were all people who had survived, and so I think that's just an example, a very good example of how we can give back and make a difference in somebody's life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've seen the impact firsthand. The purpose beyond work builds stronger team and stronger people. I think it all comes down to community.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yep. Working together, we're stronger, right? Everybody pulling their talents and skills and resources and pulling together, we can accomplish a lot more.
100%. I fully agree. Well, Dan, I want to thank you so much for joining us for this segment.
Thank you for having me again. It was enjoyable.
Absolutely. I have to give that plug again to all of our viewers and listeners to forward along any fundraising requests to your HR staff, and we'll get them to the correct individual to make that approval, which again ultimately goes to Dan. But
yep. Well, and just want to encourage people to get engaged and get involved any way you can. Small is not a bad thing. Any little bit, or just volunteering if that's what you can do.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of ways to help. So
at ProCon or otherwise.
Yes, anywhere.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, again, thanks, Dan.
Thank you.
As we get ready to welcome our next guest, Jayson Scott, we'll take a quick break and edit that back in.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Welcome back to our second segment, everyone. I am sorry to say we have received word that Jayson is not going to be able to join us today, but we'll certainly have him on as a guest in a future episode.
Absolutely.
But with that being said, the timeliness is just as relevant now as it would have been if Jayson was our guest. We have his notes from when he was preparing for the podcast, and so I will speak on his behalf to the questions that Maddie will be asking.
Sounds good. As summer ramps up, we know that heat can be a serious risk, especially for those of our team members working on the floor in areas where there's not AC or good airflow. Can you walk us through why heat stress is such a concern?
Well, Maddie, I think something that even I forget sometimes is that as the temperature rises outside, so too does the temperature of my own body heat. And that puts it at risk of things like heat exhaustion, cramps, or in the worst case scenarios, heat stroke. So, with those risks being a factor, it's really important that we look out for one another, that we check in with our supervisor if we're concerned for a coworker. Again, with those increased risks, that's why it's so important this time of year.
Mm-hmm. It's really important and helpful information. Heat stress is no joke. It can be very serious.
Goodness.
Yeah. So what are some quick things that our employees can do every day to stay safe out in the heat?
Well, staying hydrated, I believe, is number one. Getting proper rest, and that's not just your breaks at work, which you should certainly be taking, but make sure you're getting that recommended 8 hours of sleep per night. The amount of rest you get plays a big part into how you can handle the heat. Find shade or cool areas when needed and as provided. We're working right now on trying to identify different spots in the plant that we can identify as cooling areas, and I don't want to state anything that might not take place, but we're looking at different options that can make those areas be a bit cooler.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I'd also just say looking out for each other, knowing some of the signs of heat stress, heat stroke. If somebody looks nauseous, if they're confused, disoriented, I know we all sweat in the summertime, but we know what our coworker typically looks like if they're perspiring profusely and just can't get it under control. If their skin looks red, blotchy, spotty, those are all signs of a heat-related issue that needs to be addressed, and we should do so right away.
Yeah. So I know you mentioned some potential things that you're looking at, but what resource do we currently have available here at ProCon to help with this?
For sure. Yes, of course, there's these things that we are looking at that I'm not trying to be too elusive about. But, standards that we've had going back since I've been with ProCon nearly a decade ago, we're on days where the temperature is identified as a risk, we'll be sure to provide ice, cold water, Gatorades, set up stations to obtain those beverages, have ice packs available. I know that in Appleton and some other divisions in years past, we've had employees request cooling headbands that we can soak in cold water, keeps folks cool.
Sure.
And honestly, we are always open to other suggestions, although I realize I forgot the most popular one, freeze pops.
Oh, yes.
Freeze pops are almost always stocked in the freezer during the summertime. And again, just any other suggestions that anyone may have, speak up. We'd love to hear them. You can mention them to your supervisor, manager, or feel free to send them along to the Pulp at ProConUSA.com.
Yeah, sounds good. Well, this is all really important stuff. It's a great reminder that safety isn't just about the typical machine guarding, lockout, tagout, PPE. It goes beyond that, and it's about being proactive and taking care of one another, too.
Yeah. Have to be aware of the environment in which we're working as well. And
right.
Heat is no joke.
Yeah. You can feel it, it just, the way it impacts you is surprising, when it catches up to you.
It is.
And I think for those of you that saw Jason's email this morning with the safety metrics, he put in a nice visual in there that had those symptoms and signs to watch out for if you think someone is experiencing heat stress or if you yourself are experiencing
What
it
is
as well.
today's date that we're recording this?
It's a good question. It's June 3rd.
So there
June
you go.
3rd's
So I just
email.
want to reference
Yes.
that. You can check out your emails from June 3rd for the message that Jayson sent along with some great examples of what we're talking about today.
Yes.
I think that wraps up this segment.
I think so. Thanks, Bob, for filling in, and thanks, Jayson, for providing us the information.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Jayson. All right. Well, that's a wrap of this episode of The Pulp. Whether it's giving back to our communities or helping one another on the job, ProCon is all about purpose, and that includes protecting the people behind the paper. Thanks again to Dan for joining us, and to Jayson for supplying us with information. Although he was unable to make our podcast today, we'll have him on another date. And we want to thank all of you for tuning in. And take a moment to remind everybody that this episode contains our final keyword. So grab that list of keywords that you've been hanging on to since episode 5. Email all 5 of those keywords along with your name in one message to thepulp@proconusa.com. You'll be entered to win that $150 Visa gift card. Now, to be considered, entries must be submitted by the end of day on Monday, June 16th, and we'll be announcing the winner in episode 10 on June 20th. So until next time, stay safe, stay curious, and keep making ProCon great.